Good evening, TMI. Thank you for giving us some time on this November night. It's 6 o'clock. Father Scott and Dr. Harris are here. We'll wait another 30 seconds or so and continue to admit people into the Zoom. So welcome. We'll get started in just a few seconds. Anybody on this call a fan of this time of year when it's already dark at 6 o'clock at night? I know I am not. So I'm not sure that there are that many fans of this time change, but nevertheless, here we are. It's 6:01. I'm going to get started. Again, welcome. Father Scott Brown here, head of school, along with Dr. Jasmine Harris, associate head for our quarterly town hall. Honored to have some time with you. We do record these. There's about 75 of you currently on the call live, and we will record this and send it out to our community tomorrow, along with an update of some of the major topics that we addressed. We appreciate you submitting questions in advance. It allows us to better respond to those, know what's on your heart, and answer them. So I'll get started with some introductory remarks. Dr. Harris will as well, and then we'll jump right into the questions that you submitted. The chat is open for clarifying questions throughout. So if you want to get some more information about something we're talking about, use the chat and we'll do our best to address it at the end. If you have new topics that we didn't address today that are on your mind, you can throw those in the chat. We'll do our best to get to them, but it may require that we follow up with you tomorrow or another day to address those. So let's get started. First of all, I'm grateful for you, for the trust you place in us. You give us the greatest gift God ever gave you and your child, and we're honored to spend some time each day with that child. Today was Eucharist for us. It's our monthly Eucharist. It was Veterans Eucharist. It was a beautiful day. We had several of our veterans that work here as teachers and staff come up and celebrate them. Tomorrow is a big day for the Corps. It's Pass and Review for Veterans Day. And so in a school that raises up servant leadership and servant leaders, it was great to say thanks to those who serve our country and then serve on this campus every day. This Friday is a head of school holiday. You saw an email about that a few weeks ago, a wellness day chosen by the head of school for the entire community, not just for the students, but for teachers and staff as well. Even though we had a couple of days off last week for maintenance repairs, which I'll get to in a minute, we are still going to honor the Friday holiday. So tomorrow's the last day of the week, and I hope you and your child have some rest and refreshment scheduled for Friday. That's its intended purpose. I do want to talk macro about our campus facilities. If you've been around TMI a while, the last couple of years have had repeat occasions where a water pipe busted and we had to be off campus or shut down campus for 2 days, or a power outage in this area. And I want to speak macro about our infrastructure, and then Dr. Harris will speak about how that affects program. We have an old campus, and we know that. The board knows that. We're addressing that. This spring, you'll hear more from the board about plans, capital improvement plans, capital campaign plans, master plans to address our facilities. But know that the fact that our facilities continue to age is not lost on us, and we're doing everything. We're actually really excited about what we have to bring to you in the months to come. We've done some studying of our facilities and know where the problems lie, know where the deferred maintenance is, and we'll be addressing those and tell you the plan for addressing those in the next couple of months. Speaking of infrastructure, we did have a board-approved master plan over the last 6 or 8 months. What a master plan basically says is we know where every building on this campus should go if we were going to build a new building. I know what would go on Stars Lawn, and I know where we would put a new gym if we needed to add one, or a new theater if we needed to add one, or a new academic building. So we have that master plan, and now it's time to take the dream of the master plan and put it into a process that's manageable for our community. Some of you asked about that you had heard rumors that an elementary school, or we would say a lower school, is a part of the master plan. And I will simply say that at this point, it's something we continue to study. We are a 6th through 12th grade school. We're very proud of our school. We are basically at capacity with waiting lists in most classes. Have we explored the opportunity to expand down and include a lower school? It's something we've talked about at the board level and have done some feasibility research around. Now's not the time to declare that we're going to do that. Right now, the priority is to make the 6th through 12th grade programs we have the best they can be with the facilities they need. Once we feel like we have the best 6th through 12th grade facilities we can offer you and your family, then it'll be time to talk about the possibility of expanding down to include lower grades. And then somebody asked about a theater as a part of a master plan. We do have the Black Box Theater, and we get the most out of it. We would love to have a theater one day. It would be fantastic, just as we'd love to have several other things on this campus, but new buildings are donor driven. And if somebody walked in my office today and said, I want to build a candy factory and I want to pay for it, the answer would be appreciate it, but we don't need a candy factory. If somebody walked in my office tomorrow and said, I want to pay for a theater, guess what? That's on our wish list. And so we'd be happy to receive those funds. So we have to prioritize where we think the energy is. We're proud of the Black Box. We do have plans in the master plan to have a full-fledged theater, as someone said, but again, some of that is donor driven. Some introductory comments about safety before I turn it over to Dr. Harris. You have been stopped at the Welcome Center and asked about your sticker. That's the sticker that goes on the front of your car. Safety is very important to us. Your feedback tells us how much you respect and honor our commitment to safety. We want your children to be safe on this campus. And so we want a sticker on every single car. And we've tried really hard to make sure that every car has a sticker on it. And I always am honest with you parents in these town halls. And sometimes maybe I get on the edge of being too honest, but help us help you. Please do not run over our Welcome Center officers who are trying to stop you and ask you to put a sticker on your car. It is for your child's safety and your safety. Don't blow right by them and act like you're on the phone. Oh, wait a minute, I can't talk right now because I'm on the phone. No, we need you to stop when we ask you to stop so we can get a sticker on your car so we can make sure that all the vehicles that come on this campus are you. Having said that, when you come to campus for drop off or pickup, that's great. We see the sticker, we know you're welcome to come to campus. But that doesn't help us necessarily when you come to campus and then come to a meeting, whether that's a volunteer meeting or you have a parent meeting or you're on a committee. We have got to find a way to identify our visitors. And we have some ideas and some plans that we'll be rolling out this spring. One plan is that for those of you who come to campus often, some of you are here all the time because, as I said, you're involved in committees or you're coming to volunteer for different events. We are looking to get every single family, every single person, parent, a name tag that we would expect them to wear when they come to walk around campus. I'm not saying we're going to implement this tomorrow. This will be a process that we roll out over the spring. But our hope would be that for next school year, every single one of you would have a name tag that identified you as a TMI parent and as a visitor, so that when you come to campus and you walk around our campus, our entire campus knows who you are and knows that you're safe. So stay patient with us as we continue to roll out ways to keep your students safe and to keep our community safe, which is important to you. And I understand that it can be an inconvenience to you to ask you to stop and get a visitor tag, but know that it's in the name of safety and not meant to be an inconvenience. And then the last thing I'll say about drop off and pickup is we really appreciate it when you're in conversation with your child. You've done a great job of that. We have modified the way we do radio calls for pickup every day. But what we have found is, for the most part, most of your children have a cell phone and you're texting them and they know when you're there, they know what time you're going to be there. The more you communicate with your child about where you're going to be and when you're going to pick them up, the faster the line moves and we can get you off campus quicker. So those are some of my high-level introductory remarks. I'll have much more to say later as I address some specific questions. But speaking of what happens when program gets halted because of a water leak or a power outage, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Harris for some introductory remarks, and then she'll kick off the questions.
Thank you, Father Scott. Good evening, everyone. As Father Scott reminded you, I am the Associate Head of School, and I am responsible for all things teaching and learning. And that includes teaching and learning whether we have power or not, and whether the water is coming through campus or not. Last week gave us a great opportunity to talk about pivoting, which is a word that we've all used many times over the last couple of years. What we know, to Father Scott's point, is that there's work that needs to be done on the campus. While he works with the board to do that, it is my responsibility to work with the faculty to determine how we provide instruction when your children are not in front of us. We have been able over the last 18 plus months to use technology in ways that we hadn't before. So what that means is that we're going to look to that again, and we are going to go back to Zoom and figure out a remote option. It will be synchronous. It will be an 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. to 3:30 schedule. Our teachers are starting to work on that now. It will be different than what it was during the height of the pandemic. So for those of you that were here then, know the schedule will look a little differently. What I've asked teachers to do is to figure out a way to continue to provide instruction. For some, that may be an independent project. For some, especially if it's on a block day, it may be starting the day connecting, getting students connected for 45 minutes, and then they have independent time. I can't tell you today what that will look like, but there is a sense of urgency behind creating a plan to continue to provide instruction when the campus is not operational. So please know that we are working on that. I thank you in advance for your patience. Teachers are working quickly to make sure that we can minimize disruption that occurs when there's a disruption to the campus. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is middle school. I just mentioned the pandemic, and for some of our students, in particular, our sixth graders, they haven't been in a classroom in quite some time. It has been an adjustment for all of us, but in particular for them. We are looking at how our middle schoolers are faring every day. We are thinking about all that is on their plates every day and just what life is like at TMI for those new students. And then what is middle school like? What does it mean to be an eighth grader, to be a leader? What does it mean to be the middle child, so to speak, in seventh grade? And again, going back to expectations for new students and what it means to be a sixth grader and what opportunities are there. And that's something we'd like to talk to you about. So next Monday, hopefully you all save that date. It's been in news and notes a couple of times, and Dr. Fletcher, our Dean of Students, sent something out to invite you to an event that we're having next Monday evening in the chapel. 2 events, actually. The first one I believes at 6 p.m. and it is for sixth grade parents. The second one begins at 7:15 p.m. and it is for seventh and eighth grade parents combined. If you have children in more than one grade, I would suggest that if you have a sixth grader and you're only able to attend one, that it would be the most beneficial for you to choose that one, just to talk about what things are happening with the sixth grade class. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Dr. Stephen Fletcher, our Dean of Students. And I hope to see you next Monday for a conversation regarding middle school wellness. So I'm going to dive into the questions that you all submitted before we started this evening. And the first one has to do with communication. And you will notice that there's been increased communication from the Dean of Students office. We have news and notes, which comes out every Friday. You also have parent pals who reach out to you on a monthly basis. We want to ensure that you are receiving that information. We also want to make sure that we have the right information on file with you, for you. Are you receiving emergency messages from us? Last week, when we needed to get information out about the campus being closed, did you receive an email? Did you receive a text message? If you didn't, we ask that you go into On Campus and update your information. And there is emergency information like that, that's immediate. And then there's information about dress code, information about homecoming. We share that information with your students, but we will also increase our communication to you. We know that oftentimes when you ask students about their day, they come home and say the day was fine or nothing new happened. And they don't necessarily share with you that there's a themed week that's coming up next week and they need to wear different things or bring different things to school. That's what children do. Mine are 15 and 21 and they still do that. So I understand that. We will increase our communication with you for that reason, but we also want to be mindful that in a few years, especially for those of you that have upper school students, you won't have that opportunity. And it is incumbent upon us to make sure that your children are prepared at the next level to be responsible. So while we're looking at how often we communicate with you and the ways in which we communicate with you, know that there is nothing that we are sending out that is student-centered that your student doesn't know about. So help us in that way. Ask them when they get home some more specific questions, and not just how was school, but what I ask my 10th graders, is there anything I need to know? And I work here, but I will ask him, is there anything that I need to know that you were told today? Anything that I need to know for next week? Anything we need to be prepared for? So we're asking you to help us with that. And again, know that as they get older, we're expecting for them to take some of that responsibility onto themselves. The last thing I will say is, if you're confused and you're thinking, I have news and notes, I have parent pals, I think I have an email from Dr. Fletcher, but I just don't know. Is tomorrow a special day? Reach out to me. Reach out to me. Send me a quick email. I check my email regularly, probably an unhealthy amount. And because I've been there, I've been the parent at 9 p.m. at night that's thinking I'm supposed to do something special tomorrow and I can't remember what it is. And I don't want my child to be the one who's left out because I'm a working parent and I'm juggling. So I will respond to you. I will find the answer if I don't know it. If it's late and you can't figure it out, don't sift through and search for things. Just send me a quick note and we'll figure it out together. The next question is for Father Scott.
Great. I want to remind you to use your chat for clarifying questions if you have any. I will address one in real time. The remote learning plan that Dr. Harris referred to is simply in case of an emergency and a need to shut down the campus. We do not have plans to do campus maintenance and repairs this semester and have some dates in mind that we're going to pivot to that. We just want you to know that we hope we don't have to use it at all. But if past couple of months have shown anything, we need to be ready. So the plan to be able to pivot is simply in case we lost power or lost water and had to do that, we'll be able to pivot. My next question is about COVID. And so mask restriction and quarantining restriction and what might indicate a change from our current COVID policy. First of all, I'll tell you that we are going to continue with the COVID plans that are in place for the rest of the semester. Christmas break is actually but a few class weeks away. And so we don't see a need to pivot at this point. We're in a good rhythm. I'm very pleased to tell you that we've had no as in zero confirmed community spread cases of COVID on our campus. That doesn't mean we haven't had COVID positive cases on our campus, but there would be no way to trace that COVID back to that case back to TMI. So I'm very proud of what we've done and how we've kept our community safe. So what would change? Well, one thing that would change would be data. If we had better data, we could make better decisions. The cases in San Antonio are really low right now. Things are trending in the right direction. Things look very good. But when I say we need more data, if we knew more about the vaccination percentage of our students on our campus, we could make better decisions. We sent out a survey earlier in the year and we asked you to complete it and tell us, hey, is your child vaccinated? And we, of the families that responded, it was a pretty high percentage of students that are vaccinated, but only 75% of our families responded. So that means we have to assume that the 25% that did not respond are not vaccinated. So at least for the sake of making good decisions, we have to assume that. So I'm telling you this to tell you that at the conclusion of this town hall, when you get the follow-up tomorrow, there will be a new survey for you to complete. Even if you completed the previous survey, and the survey will say, is your child vaccinated? Or if you have an 11-year-old like me, and the opportunity to get vaccinated is brand new, do you plan to have your child vaccinated before the end of this calendar year, before December 31st? Is your child vaccinated? Do you plan to have the 11-year-old vaccinated or your child vaccinated before the end of the school year? If we had 100% of our families respond to that and the numbers were positive and our medical team could take a look at those and say, yeah, that's a fair enough number, then we would consider changing two things: the mask mandate for indoors, the mandate, you would obviously still be allowed to wear them if you chose, and the quarantining process, meaning if you were exposed, how many days did you have to quarantine? Those two things would be considered. It would be irresponsible of me to tell you today in November what we're going to do in January. This is a pandemic and things change. But in order for us to make better decisions, we need better data. And I am asking you, begging you, please complete the survey that's coming out tomorrow regarding your child's vaccination status so that we can make better decisions going forward. The next question I'm going to address is around accreditation. Some of you have asked about the status of our accreditation. So as an independent school, we are accredited by two accrediting agencies, ISAS and SAES. ISAS stands for Independent Schools Association of the Southwest, and SAES is Southwestern Association of Episcopal Schools. So Independent and Episcopal Schools Association for our region are accrediting bodies, and they accredit independent and Episcopal schools. Those happen every 10 years. It's our turn for re-accreditation. We are accredited. It's time for our re-accreditation. That happens on January 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th. The way that works is we prepare about 160-page document, because we just finished the draft of it, of a self-study where we essentially look in the mirror at every department on our campus and we give our own feedback of what we think is working, what's not working, and how we plan to improve. And then a group of our peers, these would be educators and academic leaders and administrators from Episcopal and independent schools, will come to TMI and be the visiting body that will take a look at our school and see if we are who we say we are. Dr. Harris and I have both served on accrediting teams at other schools. The team that comes in is our peers, and they're seeking to help us be the best version of ourselves we can be. They'll leave on January 26th with some initial commendations and recommendations, high level. And our next town hall is February 9th. I will tell you on February 9th what the commendations and recommendations from the, I will sum those up for you at that town hall. It will take months for that accrediting team to go back to their day jobs, put their reports together, and then in June, they will submit, they will sit down with those two accrediting bodies, and we will hear by June or July if our accreditation for the next 10 years was approved, which it will be. I'm confident of that. But that's kind of how that process works, and we'll keep you posted. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Harris for some questions about academics.
Thank you. So we have several questions in the academic area. The first one actually has to do with assignments and how do parents view assignments and make sure that their child is not missing anything on campus. On campus is the answer for everything. You can see assignments, grades, you can see information to make sure your contact information is correct. You can view attendance information, and you can communicate directly with teachers. That's the best way, is for you to just log into On Campus and to send information to the teachers if you have any questions. The next one has to do with enjoying some of the things that we've been doing for many years, science fairs, end of school trips. Will we be out participating in other events? That is the goal. I go back to Father Scott's response to the question to the COVID questions. The more data we have, the more decisions we can make. And we know that for quite some time, things are going to be different than they were 3 years ago or 10 years ago. What we need to do is to continue to be resilient and to move forward in the face of that. We need your help to maintain the TMI experience. So that means we need vaccination information. We need to know when we have a group of students who are ready to go to Washington, D.C., who are we taking with us and what is it that they need and how can we keep them safe? So the more information we have from you, the more we can plan about trips, about science fairs, about students being out and about in the community doing things. And we're doing that right now. Our robotics team, debate, science, they are participating in external events with safety precaution and measures in place. So we know that this is a new normal. And what we're attempting to do is to continue to provide the TMI experience through this pandemic. We just need your help. The next question has to do with the National Junior Honor Society and the National Honor Society. And the question is whether or not we are participating in those. And here's what I will say. it is important to us that students have authentic experiences. It's not just important for them to have resume builders. We want them to have activities that are authentic, that they believe in, and that they come out feeling like they've learned something from. That's the goal here. So for NJHS, which is the National Junior Honor Society, and a program that our middle school students have participated in, that has shifted. Those standards, and I'm being very transparent with you, those standards are actually lower to be a part of that organization than what we would typically require here at TMI. I believe during the last induction ceremony for middle school, we had every single student in NJHS except 4 to 6 students. So then we have to ask ourselves, what do those standards look like? How competitive is it, or is it not? And then what does it say to those 4 to 6 students, to be honest? What are we saying about them, and are we separating them? And are we splitting hairs? So if everyone is able to be in it, how valuable is it if everyone can sign up and be a part of it? So we are looking at a completely different middle school experience that our school chaplain, Father Ben Nelson, will be responsible for. In terms of NHS, which is at the upper school level, we know that there is significant value in that, in the National Honor Society. It has been around at TMI since the 1930s. It's not going anywhere. We are extremely proud of our students who are participating in NHS, and we do want their college applications and resumes to be competitive. That program has not changed, and there's a lot more honor and prestige in NHS than there is in NJHS. So that hasn't changed. Our sponsors are Dr. Cook and Mr. Mintz, and they are preparing right now for the induction ceremony, which will take place before Christmas. The last academic question has to do with classes, financial literacy classes, budgeting, compounding interest. Sounds like we want to make sure that our students are prepared when they leave the nest to take care of themselves. I am concerned about that as well. We have some courses that do some of that. This is an opportunity for us, though. I think about how many of you are business owners and entrepreneurs and are making decisions that specifically have to do with innovation and creativity. And those are areas that we can improve upon. So we're talking right now about course selections for next year and the following year. And you may remember during one of our conversations, I shared with you that one of my big rocks in coming here was to review our graduation requirements, not because we're doing anything wrong, but because any good organization looks at themselves every few years to say, what can we be doing better? And for us, it's our responsibility to look at the collegiate level to see what their expectations are and to see what we are delivering in our space, in this case, in the 6th through 12th grade space, to make sure that our students are ready for that next step. So the answer to that question is yes, we are looking at financial literacy classes, business classes, classes that give our students real world experience so that when they leave here, they're prepared to not only take care of themselves, but they can walk into the Macomb School of Business and say, I have already had an opportunity to learn this in high school at TMI. So we are looking at that right now. I will move on to uniforms quickly. And there was a question about returning to dentist uniforms. And I will continue to state, Lands' End is our preferred provider. What we're not doing is saying you must only purchase uniforms from this one vendor. Again, it's a preferred vendor. You can easily go out to any store that has a pair of khakis and there's no brand required. If you would prefer to go to a physical location, you can do that. We are not caught up on that. As long as the items look similar, we are okay with that. I know that for some people, you prefer to go in person than to try to do measurements online, and that's completely okay with us. Before I turn it back over to Father Scott, there's a final question that has to do with wellness and mental health regarding wellness days and what they are and what are they used for. Every year, I believe starting last year, so I should say for the second year in a row, we have decided to provide students and employees, faculty and staff members with a wellness day. We know that we are living in unusual times, and sometimes people need literally a moment, just a moment to take a deep breath. And that's what we're giving them. A wellness day means you get to take a day with no questions asked. So this is not a time when a parent needs to send a note. I need to decide if the absence is excused or not. That's not what it is. It's literally, I need a moment to take a deep breath. We're allowing our students to do that. It's one day a year. We're allowing all faculty and staff to do that as well. In terms of resources that are available for students, we have a wellness team. We have a school counselor. It's Lisa Condry. We have an academic support director, that's Lucy Adams, and we have a dean of students. I think historically a dean of students role has been looked at one who's checking dress code, making sure students aren't tardy. And Dr. Fletcher is so much more than that. He spent time in his office developing relationships with students, teaching them about civil discourse, how to communicate with one another, how to advocate for themselves and represent themselves. So we have a team. In addition to that, we have Father Ben Nelson, our chaplain, who comes to us with a lot of counseling experience in some fairly significant areas. And then we have our nurse, who is much more than a nurse. So we have a strong wellness team. In every edition of News and Notes, every Friday at the very bottom, their contact information is listed, and they are just a click away if you need some assistance. Father Scott, there's a real-time question before I punt to you, if you don't mind, regarding two things I just mentioned. Financial literacy, whether or not it can be covered during advisory. We actually have an advisory curriculum. And just like we are looking at all of our other graduation requirements, we are looking at how that time can be used more efficiently. So we're thinking about wellness in particular, and there's some other areas that we think we can use an opportunity in advisory to really highlight. So today, I don't have an answer for financial literacy. I will say we're thinking about what that can be used for and how often students go to advisory. Right now, they go once a week. That might look different in the future. We're just trying to figure it out. And then lastly, back to uniforms. Items with the TMI logo do need to be purchased through Lands End. So again, things that are branded, those go through Lands End. Things that are not, you can get them from any vendor that looks similar. That is it, Father Scott. I think the next question is for you.
Great. Good. I'll make a plug on the financial literacy for our Corps of Cadets program. I have 3 children who, one who graduated from TMI, 2 that are at TMI. 2 of my 3 children have been in the Corps, so I've got both sides of it. But my freshman at A&M, in his senior LET class, Major Joe Claiborne does a section on financial literacy and credit cards. And my son came home and said, "Dad, credit cards they're the devil, and I'm never going to have a credit card." And Major Claiborne told me, and so I'm telling you, his mother and I have been telling him, "Hey, you ever want to talk financial literacy, let me know." But Major Claiborne said it, and it's the gospel. And so a plug for our cadets, they're going to talk financial literacy in the LET leadership education class. Speaking of money and credit cards, I have the opportunity to address the TMI fund. One of the questions from parents said, if we're paying a premium on tuition, how can tuition not cover all of the expenses of our school? Why does the school need to still raise money? It's a fantastic question. And so let's, you run businesses, you work at businesses, you have a concept of how businesses run. Independent schools are a little bit different. We like to say that in independent schools, you really only have 3 levers that you can pull for revenue. So those 3 levers for revenue would be tuition, how much does it cost to go to school here? Enrollment, how many students do you let in? And then the annual giving, the gala, the endowment, etc. Those are really the only 3 levers you can pull for income. Well, if tuition's already at a premium, $27,500 or so for upper school, and enrollment is pretty much maxed. I told you we have a waiting list in all of our grades. We only have one more lever that we can pull to create more revenue. That's that other income. That's special gifts, annual giving, the gala. Otherwise, you got to either allow more students in, which we don't have the capacity to do, or raise tuition, which we don't want to do. So let me give you the breakdown of how that looks for TMI. Our annual expenses for 2021, 2022 are $13.5 million. So that's essentially our budget. We're a nonprofit. 13.5 million in expenses. Just like your businesses, the majority of our expenses are around salaries, but also about 40% goes to program. So running the business costs us $13.5 million to pay our teachers, to pay our administrators, to provide exceptional opportunities through the Corps of Cadets, through athletics, through fine arts, through music, through technology, through all the programs, all of the business costs $13.5 million. All 499 students' tuition revenue equals $11.8 million. So there's a gap. There's a gap between the amount of revenue that tuition covers and the total expenses. For us, that gap is about 88% or 12%, depending on which way you look at. Tuition covers about 88% of our total expenses. That's actually an extremely healthy number. Anything above 85% in independent schools is a really healthy number. Dr. Harrison, I know schools in our association that are in the 80s or 70s, and they got to go raise significant dollars to bridge that gap. We're really blessed that our tuition covers 88% of total expenses. So that's really good. So then what bridges the gap between tuition revenue and total expenses? Other income like rentals, when we rent the facilities out to club teams that use our sports complex in the evenings, summer programming, and then endowment. We have a fairly large endowment, but for a school our size, we would like to see it be much bigger. Endowment obviously generates income year after year and helps bridge that gap. And then lastly, annual giving. For us at TMI, it's about $750,000 a year that we budget for annual giving to help us bridge that gap. Annual giving would be the TMI Fund largely, the Gala, Stars Over TMI, the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Luncheon, etc. So we've got to bridge that gap somehow. Without that fundraising component of our school, $750,000 would have to be cut from the budget. So what makes us great, our ability to have smaller classes, to have the programs that we have, to have the staff that we have, the wellness opportunities that we have, all of that happens and it comes with a cost. And fundraising helps us bridge that so that we can provide the exceptional experience that we have. I will say, for those of you that are wondering, we're very fiscally conservative and we have what's called a PRISM account, a provision for plant replacement, renewal, and special maintenance. Our goal is that 3% of our total cost of replacing the campus would be set aside for PRISM. So that comes out to about $1 million and some change. And we have that. So we have about $1 million that sits in what we call a PRISM account, call it a rainy day account. When pipes bust, when chillers break, we can use money from that PRISM. We don't have to use money from the operating account. Although we do budget within the operating account for capital expenditures as well. So I love to have these conversations. If this conversation bores you to death, we're moving on. If this conversation intrigues you and you're like, man, I'd love to talk more about that, some of that didn't make sense, call me, email me, reach out to me, because it's important to me that we're transparent and you understand why we have to ask you to do your part to help us bridge that gap. That actually concludes the scripted questions that you submitted, which is great because you didn't have that many questions, which either tells us that you've lost interest, but there's 100 of you on the call, so we're going to assume that's not the case, or that we're doing a pretty good job communicating with you, which I hope is the case. So just because these are only quarterly, please continue to let us know if you have questions along the way. I see one question for me, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Harris to wrap it up. And that's what exactly did happen last week with the pipes. So by the softball field, facilities, security is doing their nightly rounds on Tuesday night and Tuesday night. And there's Old Faithful. There's a geyser coming right up out of the ground by the third base dugout of the softball field. And where that leak was taking place, there's both the fire suppression line and the water, the main water into our campus. We turned the main water off briefly, which shuts off water to my house, Dr. Harris's house, Father Ben's house, the dorms, everything, and the geyser goes away. So obviously we had a leak in the main water. I'm so proud of our our facilities team. Normally that process, when we've had that in years past, is a 72-hour or more process. You got to excavate to figure out where the leak is. You got to find the leak. You got to get the hole big enough to encompass the working area. You got to get the new pipe in. You got to get the plumber in. You got to make sure that when you put 10,000 PSI of water back through your pipes, that it holds. We did all of that in 48 hours while it was raining and lightning striking all around us. So it was actually very impressive. But in an essence, for those of you that are wondering, the entire campus water was shut off so we could fix that major pipe that was providing water to the entire campus. No water means no cooking, no restrooms, no, the fire suppression would have worked. It's a separate system, but no water, no bueno. So that's it in a nutshell. Dr. Harris, you want to wrap us up?
Yes. So again, I want to thank you for being flexible last week. Our teachers teach because they love kids. I mean, that's why we work in schools. And so what I was impressed by was our teachers continuing to reach out to your students to say, while you're home, here are some things I want you to think about, or here are some things that you could be working on. And I was CC'd on an email to my son, reminding him that he could come in during a teacher's planning period if he needed help to figure out where he went wrong with a particular quiz. So our teachers were still reaching out and communicating with your students, and I'm grateful for that. What I shared with them yesterday morning during our faculty meeting is that we need to be prepared, and what that means is that every day we may need to leave with our laptops. Our students may need to leave with their laptops. We just don't know. And so we have to figure out as a faculty what that means. So if every day your child starts coming home with their laptop now, that's because we've asked them to. So I ask you to be on the lookout for something that says to you, we have come up with a plan, and here's what we're asking your students to bring home every day. We don't want this to be a burden, but we are realists. So yes, it's one more thing in their bag. If we're honest, our kids always have some sort of device on them. We're just going to ask them to start to be prepared while Father Scott and the board do their work. As a faculty, we're going to do ours and make sure, again, that we continue to be able to provide instruction. We owe that to you, but more importantly, we owe it to your children. And we know that children do well when there is structure, and they want to continue to reach out to their teachers, and they don't want to fall behind. You'd be amazed at some of the emails we received last week from students saying, what about this quiz? When will we be able to do that? I didn't do that when I was in school. If we missed a day, I wasn't checking in to make sure that we were going to still have the quiz when we returned. But those are the children that you have raised. And it's pretty great to be here with them every day. Again, be on the lookout for that in the mail. If you don't have any last questions, I will double check the chat. Father Scott, am I overlooking anything?
I don't see any. You have been on your best behavior tonight, parents. I'm so proud of you.
Too. You know how to reach us. We're not going anywhere. Please reach out. If it's 7:01 and you think about a question that you wish you'd asked, please don't hesitate to reach out. I remind you of the contact information that is in the news and notes every single week. Reach out to Father Ben, to Dr. Fletcher, to Lucy Adams, to Lisa Condry, to the nurse, and to me, and to your child's teachers. Utilize On Campus. Get in there and play around in it and see how you can set up reports, and it is a very useful tool. If there's something that we're missing, let me know. Reach out and say, it would be helpful if I had X, and we'll figure out if that's something that we can help you out with. I like a challenge, so we'll rise to the occasion. I personally want to thank you for welcoming me and my family. It's been the best start to the school year that I've had in a really long time. You have made me feel like family, and I'm grateful for that. I'd like to wish all of you, we would like to wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving. We're looking forward to seeing you around campus and certainly at our next town hall. So thank you for all of your support. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you all. 2 quick reminders: Veterans Day Pass and Review tomorrow. If you've never been to a Pass and Review, if your child's not in the Corps, 9:30 tomorrow. We'd love to have you out. It's outdoors, so we can accommodate you. Stop and make sure you tell the Welcome Center that you're coming to campus. And then last, I'm really proud of our football team who competes in the championship game on Saturday at 2 o'clock in Robinson, Texas. Finished the regular season 9-0. Quite an accomplishment for those boys. So a couple of great TMI events in the next couple of days. With that, I'll wrap it up and thank you again for your time. Go Panthers, and we love you. Bye-bye.